all he wants.
Always. We're live.
We're back. Got the helmets back. Good to go.
Hey, hello. It is the Go Birds podcast presented by the Bet Parks Sportsbook and Casino app. You love to play. You play to win. You bet. Bet Parks. Elliot,
What up?
we did it, dude.
We're here.
For you, so we all love training camp. We're all excited to have football back.
my
And we'll
time.
talk about some issues, all that stuff. But there's palpable excitement about the Eagles the week the training camp starts. But I only think of you. I only think of how happy you must be knowing that your favorite time of year is a day away. Like, what a thrill.
The awesome thing too is, like, look, obviously for me, I personally, I'm very excited. But it does, and maybe it's because we were all on vacation last week. It felt like exciting walking the studio here, like the band's back together.
Oh, yeah.
Like all the shows are back.
Yeah.
You're back. I'm back. Like the Eagles are back. It feels like after a dead period in sports, at least from a football perspective, the Eagles surprisingly, and a good thing, quiet the last month.
Yeah.
Until
Friday.
Yeah, until Friday. But I can't wait. Unfortunately, it looks like it might rain on Wednesday and Thursday, so I'm a little worried about if it'll practice. But I've said this before, and we'll get into it. But like mostly going into training camps, it's exciting training camp, and there's like drama if there's stuff with the quarterback, and there is this year from an off the field perspective, and he has to play well on the field. I was looking at old training camp stats today.
Getting ready.
Yeah, not that it is the end all be all, but I did realize last year of the 3 years, Hurts had his fewest
attempts.
No, his fewest touchdown passes in training camp. He had like 7 less than the previous 2 years. So maybe a little indication of what was to come. So we'll be seeing. So he had 17 last year. Quick, over under, Bet Parks. 17 passing touchdowns over under.
Over.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he better. If he has 17 again, that's gonna be worrisome. But no, I think this training camp is special in the way that there are so many things outside of the quarterback, linebacker 2, the right guard spot, the second defensive tackle spot, the nickel spot. Like you can really go like almost position for position, the third wide receiver spot, center in a way. Like it's not a competition.
Well, certainly guard.
Well, if it gets into the third week and Jurgens isn't playing well, like would they move him back to guard? Like, I don't know. So just a lot of unknown for a really talented roster, but a lot of unknowns on how all the puzzle pieces will fit together.
Yeah. And look, we can all be honest about it. We've talked about it, but certainly in at least 20 years, maybe ever, the most we've been waiting for an answer to a question through, like, in terms of this 5-6 weeks that we have every year where we get through the draft, we get through free agency, the draft, the whole thing. And then it's like, all right, bang, like the OTAs. And then it's like, bang, we have 6 weeks off, 5 weeks off, whatever it is. Like, I don't ever remember this period of time waiting the whole time to hear what a player is going to say when we get
100%.
back. Right?
And so he'll probably Jalen will talk on Wednesday.
Wait, and then what's Nick going to say about it? He'll be asked about it. Yeah, but first time you're speaking since the comment. Like there is so much intrigue outside of the normal just excitement from the field. Like, and on top of that, just the stakes of this training camp, the stakes of this season are so high for 2 guys who we thought had a chance to go down as the greatest quarterback head
Still
coach.
Good.
Sure, they could. You're right.
Yeah.
But like this, it's wild how it does feel like we are entering a season on a brink in a way, where there's real stakes right now for these 2 guys and the team in general, but for the head coach and quarterback more than in recent.
Well, it's interesting. I don't know if you get this on vacation because you did more of a staycation.
And I also checked the
exactly
hell out, dude.
But so I went to Maine for a week, which I want to talk about because it was like unbelievable.
Yeah.
But we went
with,
we'll do. I'll wait and tell you.
Okay. I
so
can't wait. I'm excited.
We went with friends, and obviously, like part of it is, how do you think the Eagles will be? Mm-hmm. And it's always like this a little bit. I'm sure it's like this with you and everyone at the station. Like it's hard to answer a question like that to someone that's not an Eagles fan, like succinctly.
Mm-hmm.
It's like how the Eagles will be. Well, the right guard, and we'll see about cornerback 2, and like so what they really want is they'll be good.
Yeah.
Right? But it is interesting because you think of this team, and this is where we'll start to get the answers. Like now we're finally going to find out if it was that last 7 weeks or if it was the previous 30 weeks. Like because when people ask me, I would say, their roster is loaded. The perception from non-Eagles fans is the roster is loaded. And that's what they say. Like, of course they'll be good. But I think people sometimes underrate, and maybe we do, and I'm sure we've done 50,000 versions of this, like just how bad they were last month. So
I mean, they went 1-6 down the
right.
stretch, and they lost to Arizona. They got boat raced by the Giants.
Yeah,
Now,
like,
granted, their stars only played part of the game, but like they were down 24-0 with the stars in the game. Like,
and I'll say,
come on, dude.
This is why if you want to, there's every year to be excited about training camp. This is it, because there's a possibility once that flight goes back from Brazil that we're all sitting here.
There's not much excitement.
But no, yeah. I mean, I can't wait to actually see this team in action and start to get all the answers.
Yeah. Again, like, I think that the floor is not like, I don't think they're going to be the worst team in football because of the talent they have, but I think the floor is lower than people are giving
like
credit
7
for.
wins.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think people call it more like they'll be a 10-win team no matter what with their talent. I don't think that's true. Like, I think we saw last season. Now you can have a lot of talent, and maybe they're more talented, maybe they're not. I don't know. The defense. We could argue.
Sure.
Saquon obviously makes the offense better, but you lose Jason Kelce. We've talked about the importance of that. Like, I don't know. I would say they're probably similar from a talent perspective this year to last year. Better in some spots, worse in others. But I mean, to the point that what we saw last year, they could easily fall apart. If this Jalen Nick thing, and I know it could be Jalen and Kellen or whatever, but if it doesn't work. If Jalen doesn't work, they will not be good.
Or
like flat out.
Well, let's just call it what it is. Like, I will say, like, I think I'm higher on Nick than you are, right? And you're probably higher on Jalen than I am, but we're both high on Jalen. I think you're relatively on Nick. Regardless, there's a shot that like neither of them are good at their job.
Oh
like,
yeah,
I don't
they
think
could
that's
both
the case.
Be gone at the end of this year.
I do not think that's the case. But how many years do teams go into a season with the quarterback and the head coach on the hot seat? And it works.
Well, also
that would be the concern.
How about just think about it this way? How often do teams go into a season with the quarterback and head coach on the hot seat and also are Super Bowl contenders? I'll bet you that's really freaking rare, Elliot.
I agree 100%. I mean, if you
it's a very unique situation.
If you look at the list of coaches that like they put out like most likely to be fired, I don't have it in front of me, but I would bet none of them are like top 7 in Super Bowl contenders besides Nick. And Nick is like somewhat, again, I don't have.
Yeah, Mike McCarthy is probably the only other one.
That'll be the other one.
And that's a unique situation too, in a weird way and all that type of stuff. But like, it's really rare.
Well, and that's why, and I'm sure we'll get into it now, like even on vacation, when I saw the Diana Rossini stuff.
So yeah. I'll take you inside. Let me bring you inside. So we're both on vacation. Yeah. We've been off. I'm not, it's Friday. You're starting. And that's the thing. And look, we love our jobs. We're lucky we get to go back to jobs we love. But you're off, you're with your family or whatever. And then you get to that weekend before you come back. You're like, oh man, like for me, it's just more like, oh, I have to start waking up at 3 in the morning.
Right. Yeah.
It's all it was. It's like, oh my God, it's gonna be so painful. And it was painful.
Yeah.
But I get the text from you on Friday and I am like trying as hard as I can to check out. Like I'm just like, as long as I can till I have to lock back in. I'm out. I'm watching movies, whatever. And I got the text. I didn't want to read the article. I was just like, I don't want to look at this right now. And eventually I got there and it was frustrating. So let's get into that.
You want to recap it?
Sure. I mean, essentially it's an article from Diana Rossini that came out on The Athletic and she's talked about it on her podcast as well, that basically implies that Nick Sirianni was 100% in charge of the offense last year, that Brian Johnson basically had no say and was basically Nick's like lackey essentially.
Right.
And that that Jalen and Nick don't get along, that they're a work in progress.
Ooh, which is such a brutal.
And then the last part didn't like how he's running the show. Like, duh.
Yeah.
And no Eagles fan read that and was like, oh.
I will say she went a little stronger on like he picked.
She went on the like she basically made it seem like Howie Roseman does everything.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Which look how he does.
Hey, look, we won a Super Bowl that way.
Yeah,
who picked Jim Schwartz? It wasn't Doug Peterson.
Yeah.
Okay, so like
we don't have to relitigate the Howie.
Yeah,
like,
we're good on that. I'm fine with that. Yeah. The first half of the article is where I'm concerned. And so there's a number of pieces I want to get into. I want to get your overall thoughts, but then I also want to get into, because I think it's clearly either from Brian Johnson's camp or Jalen Hurts' camp. I don't know.
In some ways, the
the combination, whatever it is. Your thoughts on the article when you first saw it, read it, and then where you think it's coming from and why.
So, all right. Doug Peterson used to have this sign over the door of the player's exit to the NovaCare. I don't know if it's still there, and I'll have to look next time I'm in there. But it would say something like, what you see here stays here, essentially. And whenever there's a leak like this, that's the first thing I think of. Because in an offseason where they've tried so hard to move on from all this drama, and we just started the first few minutes of this pod being like, I cannot believe how exciting it is they're back, and like Saquon and blah, blah, blah. You see stuff like this. It's like, what are we doing, guys? Now, look, I think Diana Rossini is, if not the best insider in the league, like she is certainly on the short list. So, and she is very plugged in with the Eagles. She had the Bryce Huff signing. So I believe this with with everything. I don't think this is
I don't
like
think it's made
some
up, but
low down person.
I
Like
think it's a legitimate source giving her
100%,
legitimate
100%.
information.
Now, while I hate to do the source guessing, I think you have to do it a little bit
You
here.
have to.
If it's Brian Johnson, that's a little different.
It's very
He's
different.
not with the team
It's
anymore.
completely. If it's Brian Johnson, it's like that's annoying that it came out, but like, what are you going to do about it?
Well, but the if it's Jalen's,
That's a problem.
That's a problem. But
because then that's Jalen still butthurt, still upset, still angry, and still trying to get his story out there instead of just saying, let's figure this out and move forward together and make up and whatever, or suck it, eat your pride and move forward.
Right. Now, it's reporters' jobs to go out and get stuff like this. So like I think sometimes it gets perceived as like the team leaking it intentionally. Like I don't think that's
no. I think she's had a conversation and stuff came out.
Now, but what it is on two macro level takes on it. One, like what are we doing, guys? Like like this has to stop. Like it's such a gut punch reminder of how much drama is going on with this team and how ugly this year could become. And like how the stench of last season truly will not go away until frankly maybe they like win a playoff game. Because when you consider they were 10-1 last year, I think people will have their guards up. But it is like, I mean, I remember sitting here and doing the pod after the Bucks lost, but maybe it was the next one, like talking about Nick. And we were both like, different takes on it, but both of us agreed that if Nick comes back, like the baggage comes with him. And that's what you're seeing with this. Like the baggage is there. The second part of my macro level take on it is we've talked so much about what the potential issues with Nick and Jalen could be. And it's like, maybe because Nick's like, super outgoing and Jalen isn't. Like, no matter whether it was Brian Johnson or Jalen's camp or whoever, it is clear from this, the main issue last year was the offense. Because if the goal is going to be to blame Nick and say it's 100% Nick and Brian was only calling Nick's plays and all that stuff, like I would guess Brian Johnson and Jalen Hurts are pretty lockstep about how they felt last year. Like we know how close they are. I remember multiple games afterwards seeing Brian Johnson sitting next to Jalen Hurts in the locker room. Like they are very tight. And so it is clear based off of this reporting, which I believe, in which, we believed anyway, but I think this reaffirms it, that the main issue last year was Jalen probably didn't like how the offense was being run. Think of how much he audibled, how many times we talked after games about he audibled to a deep pass, in the Seattle game. He audibled quite a bit. Versus what Nick wanted to do. And I just firmly don't believe that it's like 100% Nick's offense. I don't believe that. Like this feels like pushing blame off of
Brian
somebody
Johnson
onto Nick.
Yeah.
And Nick, let's be honest, is an easy punching bag right now. Like you did 4 hours on it today, so I'll be curious what the callers thought. But I would be surprised if a lot of people defended Nick with this.
Yeah, no one's really
exactly. So it's real easy for whoever's leaking this to come out and go, "Yeah, that was all Nick. Like, wasn't me." Like Brian. Like, if it was Brian Johnson, like, guess what, buddy? You were the offensive coordinator. And if it was Jalen's camp, like Jalen, you were out there actually playing. So it goes back to the like Nick holds blame. He's the head coach. I don't mean to like continually defend him, but where I do push back on is this idea that it was like all Nick. Like it was a trio. It was Nick, it was Brian Johnson, it was Jalen, and then obviously the other players play a role, the offensive line, all those things. And the other thing that's frustrating is the offense wasn't even that bad most of the year. They still finished 7th in points, which
but they were bad.
I agree, but the point I'm making is they were not like 25th.
But they were by the end. I mean, that offense we saw the last 7 weeks, they couldn't block.
Yeah.
But it did seem like
it fell apart at the end.
Well, it did seem like they got figured out and that they couldn't do anything to recover. Like Nick Bosa said, like after that game, the offense was never close to good.
Right.
So I do think they couldn't block. They couldn't stop the blitz. And
Yeah.
teams figured it out. And that was the end of the offense. They had no counterpunch.
Yeah. And so like whoever it is doing this, like it's not, and I know the goal is not to like help the Eagles, but it's not productive. Like this is such a gut punch reminder of the drama that is going to follow the team this year.
Yeah.
Because it should, training camp, there's a reason people joke about like, it's the time of the year where everybody's optimistic. Everybody thinks they can win. And like, if you're already dealing with this type of stuff, like what's going to happen when they start to struggle? Like what if they do lose to Green Bay? What if they do start 1-2? What if, God forbid, they start like 1-4? Like how ugly is it going to get then? So for a team that really needs to like focus on culture and locker room building and all that, like, again, we don't know if it's coming from the locker room, but this is not a good sign.
Yeah, I don't think they can recover from a slow start. Like I think they absolutely have to start faster. I think this will take over. We saw it last year. Yeah. I think it'll take over. I've never thought a team needed a fast start more in my life than this Eagles.
Well, think about how ugly it'll be. And again, this is my happy time of year, so I hate to go down this path. But think about how ugly it'll be if they lose to Green Bay and then they come out Monday night against Atlanta and like they have 6 points in the
Mhm.
Like, it'll be
It'll be bad,
it'll be
man.
really
Yeah,
ugly. Like,
yeah.
everyone will do the whole, like, "Oh, they're booing the Eagles coming off the field," like Philly fans thing, but
They'll have earned it.
there is a lot of frustration built up that is ready to come out if this team doesn't play well.
Yeah, no, and it does matter to me who this came from. If it's from Brian Johnson, like, I can't get mad at Jalen that this came out, like, whether or not they're tight or
Yeah.
whatever,
Well,
like
that's a different type of thing.
right,
Yeah.
but if it's from Jalen's camp, which it is certainly possible it's from Jalen's camp, like, that I would have a real problem with that, a
Yeah.
real problem. We've talked so much about these two guys, and you're making I think you made a great point that it's on Nick too. Like, Nick has to repair his relationship. He has to do
Yeah.
whatever it takes to get Jalen on his side, whatever it takes.
It's his job.
It's his job.
Yeah.
It's a paramount. It's an
Right.
important part of his job. But, like, you too, Jalen. Like, Jalen, I need Jalen to work to make this better, to try and make this better. And again, we don't know that this league came from him. It could be Brian Johnson. Absolutely. But if it's Jalen, if this is coming from his camp, that would be super concerning at the end of the season, where we're all talking about this, how's he going to answer this question? Can he come back and just say something nice about Nick? Like, if he's leaking stuff to the media right before camp starts, like, and I know we don't know. I know we don't know, but, like, it's certainly possible.
Well, it's clearly not
and
from the Eagles.
it
and
just
it's
makes
clearly
me
not
super
from Nick.
nervous. It makes me super nervous. Like, I've said this whole time, like, I don't expect him to be effusive about Nick when he answers. Like, I think he's going to, at least to a certain point, dig his heels in a bit. I think he's going to answer it better than he did last time, because he has to, because the organization has talked to him about it. But I don't think we're going to get some glowing, like, Nick's the best, love him type of thing. I don't think he's going to do anything more than he quote unquote has to, in my opinion, for Nick Sirianni.
So it's interesting. And obviously you're talking about when he's asked about his relationship with Nick on Wednesday and what his reaction will be.
The very first question.
So I do think, just from being around Jalen for a few years, like, if you answered a question poorly and then knew you had to go into a press conference, like, being like how much you love this guy, like, you are very capable of, being like, here's why he's awesome. Here's why I love him. And I, blah, 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 right? So, like, that's a strength of yours. That's a strength of Nick's. Like, I think I'd be very good at it. I think Tucker would be okay, right? But
Tucker would be,
but, like, Jalen
Tucker even was like, no, I wouldn't be good at that.
But Jalen, just like who he is he's not gonna.
It's not his skill set.
It's just not. Yeah, it's not his skill set. Now, I think he knows that that's what people are going to want. So whether he decides to do it, but I agree with you're setting, not you, but if you think he's going to get up there and talk for like 2 minutes about how close him and Nick are, like, I think that's just setting an unrealistic bar.
I agree. And when you say what people expect, though, the people that are most important in this case are his freaking bosses.
Yeah.
Like, that's the part of it where, I mean, I would give anything to be in the room to know what Jeff or Howie had said to Jalen about his answer, and to know
if they talked about it.
Yeah, I'm sure they did. I'm sure he's been talked to about this. I would be so shocked.
But it might have not been Jeffrey Howie.
No, it might not. It might have been, whoever.
PR staff, right.
Or it might have been, whoever. However,
well, I'm sure that prior to him going to that podium on Wednesday, I would think it'd be Wednesday. We don't know for sure, but I would think he talks Wednesday. That there will be a long conversation about, like, you are going to be asked about this. Like, here is what we
would really like you to say.
Yeah, we don't have to tell you what to say, but, like, here's
something like
if
this.
If I were you, here's how I would approach this.
This right here. Yes.
Yeah. So what do you think he says?
I think he's going to say Nick's doing a good job. I just think it's going to be something similar to the last answer, but without, like, the awkward pause. Like, he's going to know it's coming.
Right.
So I think he will have a prepared answer, but I think it's just going to be like, Nick's good. We're going to go out and do something and try and win together, kind of thing. Like, I don't think he's going to talk about why Nick is great or what he's great
my
at.
My worry would be is he does the whole, like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, well, he could. That's my worry too. Is
like,
that he comes out.
Nick are cool. What are you talking?
Yeah, and he comes out as like, what are you guys even talking? Like, why would you say that? Or like push. I could see him pushing back on the media. Like, I could see him seeing this whole thing and blaming the media for it in the first place.
Right, coming out
being like, screw you guys. Like, I'm going to give you nothing.
And I would understand to an extent him feeling that way privately, but, like, publicly, you just have to
suck it the hell up. Man.
Like,
you're the quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles. You have $255 million in the bank. Like, just get there and do what's best for the team, man. Like, I'm not saying it for me. I'm not saying it for you. I'm not saying it for you. I'm saying it for your team, for your 52 other dudes out there playing with you, for all the coaches who you do like on that roster, all the people who do help you. Like it's about all of you. It's about winning together. And this is the kind of thing that can submarine an entire season.
Yeah, I agree. Now, I think Nick will be asked about it. He'll probably be asked about the
I think he'll do a really good job.
And I think Nick will, my guess is it'll be something like, look, I love working, I love having Jalen as my quarterback. Me and him love
He's going to
football.
defend him. I think
Yeah,
he's going
he'll
to say.
defend him
I think he's going to
100%.
say that Jalen was misinterpreted or something like that. I think
Yeah.
he's going to find a way to defend Jalen's answer. Is what
Yeah.
I would guess, Nick.
Yeah, and I think with the stuff about how it was 100% him, I think honestly he'll go, yeah, like I'm the head coach. Everything is on me.
Yeah,
That was
he'll
last
take
season. We're
accountability,
moving
and
on.
that's the point, though, the accountability part of it, and that's where Jalen, and that's what got Carson in trouble. Like, or one of the many things that got failing on the field, but in terms of, I think why people in Philadelphia turned on Carson was as much the lack of him taking accountability for anything as it was his play on the field.
Yeah.
I think both things were a part of that, and we're creeping dangerously close to Jalen with that, where it does feel like Jalen, from the stuff he said, the way he's gone about it, that he doesn't want to take accountability for his role in what happened.
All right, so let me ask you this.
Or the amount of accountability he should or whatever.
So I know you don't love training camp as much as me. And I know we always go back on, like,
to be fair, no one does.
Right.
Yes.
We like if it matters, if it doesn't matter. Let me ask you this.
Yes.
Do you think Jalen's training camp performance matters more to you this year? Because last year when he wasn't playing great, it was, well, he's coming off MVP. It doesn't matter. Like, Like, I'm just curious, to be honest. Like, do you like if all the beat reporters come back from practice every day and going, man, the offense looks bad. Like, ooh, does that matter to you, or do you think like more so than other years?
Yes.
Okay.
More so than other years, yes. Now I'm not going to say that I'm going to impugn the season.
No, I know
you
or whatever.
But yes,
you're ready to like hear good things out of camp.
I'm ready. Especially, here's what I need to hear. I need to hear that Jalen's making the right decisions, and he's making the right, like, I want to see that Jalen is checking down. I want to see that Jalen is taking what's there for him and stuff like that. So it's like, if he misses on some throws here and there, like, I'm not going to freak out. But in terms of, like, I want to hear you coming in and be like, hey, man, Jalen was 17 for 21 and, smart decision. Like, so it's
Didn't
more.
put the ball in harm's way.
Yeah, like that kind of stuff where it's like, but more than normal for me for training camp, because of the offseason, because of all that's happened, because of, how important and how bad he was last year. Yeah.
Towards the end.
Yeah.
It wasn't like stellar early on.
Yeah.
But
so, and I'm also going to be interested in how he looks. Does he look spry? Is he moving good? Like all those type of things.
So that last part doesn't really
You've
do
always
much
said
for
it
me. Like,
doesn't
he
look
always
as
looks
different.
good running in camp. So, and then all of a sudden he didn't, right? Obviously. Now, last year, I do think, if I remember correctly, he had like a knee thing in camp. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, anything in the season.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I know he did in the season.
Yeah.
But regardless, like, so that doesn't matter as much to me. For me with Jalen, look, I need more than 17 touchdowns. I need more than 17 passes. I don't know what to say.
Number,
I just more than last year. Like, more than he had last year. Obviously, the bar for me is 30. That's what you really want to see.
Mm-hmm.
But I know I would be pretty surprised. Like, he's been at 25, 22, 17. Like, I don't think he's going to hit 30.
Mm-hmm.
If he hits 30,
you'll be ready.
I will be ready to go. Put it that way. But I do think another thing I want to see from him is, like, is he putting the ball in harm's way? Because last year,
that's my whole point.
Yeah, like, turnovers were a problem. Now, to your point about being smart with the ball, I agree with that to an extent. I do think in training camp, you want to be a little more like, let's try some things.
Mm-hmm.
But his biggest strength going into last season was how he takes care of the ball. And last year, he had like what felt like 1 or 2 turnover-worthy plays every single game. So seeing if he's putting the ball in harm's way, how many interceptions he has. He only had 4 interceptions in camp last year, which is not a lot. Obviously, I think I ended up charting like 13 practices. So that wasn't a good indication of what was to come. But I am like, if he has 7 or 8 interceptions, like, that'll be worrisome for sure.
Yeah.
Now the secondary could be better. So that's part of it.
Look, and there's a lot of, we don't know what routes are called. We don't know this and that, whatever. But like, yes, they're
learning a new offense. Like, there are all those things going on.
Yeah.
But I test, like, it won't just be me. There'll be other reporters there.
I need him to look good.
Yeah.
I need him to look in command. I need him to look confident. I need him to look good. And I'm intrigued to see what they're doing from a scheme perspective with him. Like, I know you've been asked a lot to track the under center stuff. And I'm intrigued to see what they're doing with all that type of stuff. So I think it's more from that perspective. But yeah, look, I think after the collapse last season, I need good vibes. Like, I want to see this team come into camp ready to work, excited, people flying around. Everyone's, Jalen looks good. People out there making, like, I need something good right now.
I agree. And now 2 things. One, what I don't really need to see, and I think this is something I'll probably get asked about on air, like, I don't need to see Nick and Jalen like joking it all around on the camp. Like, that's just not that they talk, but like, I think that would seem somewhat performative. Maybe that's just do it because it's worth it. Like, I'm fine with that. But if I'm come back from 4 or 5 days of practice and I get asked on air or on here, like, are Nick and Jalen talking? Like, I don't think that's something worth monitoring. Like, they're at practice, they're working. Like, to me, that would not be a good indication either way. Now, if they're, during stretch when all the cameras are available, like making sure they're talking, like, yeah, I would appreciate that and respect it. But I don't think it's going to be a red flag if, 5 days into camp, people are saying, I actually haven't seen him talk at all. Like, I think when you're at practice, it's not what people make it out.
Sure, I think that's fair. Yeah, they're and they've got a lot. They're pulled in a lot of different directions.
Yeah,
That's why you have a quarterback coach. That's
right.
why
That's
you
why
have
he
someone
talks
who's
to
with Jalen at all
Kellen. Yeah.
times and all that stuff.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Do you think the offense should be ahead of the defense?
To start camp?
Yeah.
So I feel like the offense should almost never be ahead of the defense to start camp
I think
anymore.
it's harder to be
I
ahead.
feel like the last few years, you're always out, defense looks good. And I think it's hard. And I think especially when you're installing a new offense. So no, I would actually be shocked if the offense was ahead of the defense.
I agree with that. And I will say the defense has more turnover, right? They are running a similar scheme, scheme change probably somewhat similar actually on both sides of the ball. But I remember last year in camp, there was one particular practice, but there was a few days where it was like, God, the offense looks bad. And frankly, while they were 7th in points, not as bad as whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like the overarching premise of the last year, I mean, the coordinator got fired. So it's clearly the offense didn't.
We're talking about the head coach and the quarterback on the hot seat for a reason. Yeah.
So while I do think we can definitely go through the first few days of saying, hey, the defense should be ahead. It's hard, blah, blah, blah. Like it would be extremely reassuring to see like 8 touchdown passes in the first like 4 days. Like, where they're doing red zone and he's getting in the red zone a bunch. Because in the off season,
because they are more talented. To your point, they
are more talented.
Like this team,
and the core.
This team is not winning the Super Bowl this year because their defense was awesome.
Right.
It wouldn't hurt. It'd be nice. They're winning the Super Bowl if the offense is awesome.
And especially like in 7-on-7 red zone, like they should be getting in the end zone. I mean, like at that point, you're not talking about Steen and Jurgens. Like you're talking about Goddard, Saquon, AJ, against like who I really like these guys, like Keeley. Like, yes, Keeley has had a great camp. Like if the Eagles' first team offense does red zone the first day, which they normally do, and they do 7-on-7, and they run like 8 or 9 plays and only get 2 touchdowns, like I will be worried about that. So that'll be a continuation of last year. So I think you need to see the offense like outplay the defense early on, even though they get to take time and all that. Like
I'll give them a few days, but I agree they have to get there.
Yeah,
I totally agree. All right, some more questions about training camp coming up in a sec, but it's a wonderful time of year. That's the beautiful thing. So much fun stuff to bet on. You can't bet on the training camp stats,
dude. Honestly, I was thinking about hitting Parks Up.
Yeah,
probably if they could do a little. It's so subjective.
It's arbitrary and subjective.
Yeah, but still, like it'd be fun.
It'd be fun, but you can bet on futures. We'll be talking more futures throughout the off season as we continue to get you set on the Parks Picks Pod. And of course, baseball action to bet on. There's Olympic action coming up.
Dude, I'm ready.
It's gonna be fun.
I don't know if I told you this. This is a clap your hands discussion, but I got the Joel Embiid Olympic jersey.
Of course you did.
Arrives on.
Why am I not? 11 looks weird though. It's a little weird.
I like 11.
It's fine on him. I'm just saying it's weird seeing him in anything other than 31. Just feels weird.
21.
20. Excuse me. 21. Yes. Excuse me.
All right.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Yes.
No problem.
That's why I'll just talk about Parks instead of more numbers. That's the beautiful thing, though. You can bet on all this action. Of course, soccer, MMA, tennis, golf. There's so much fun stuff to bet on. Plus, in addition to this, you bet on all your favorite sports. You can also play live casino games right on your phone. Baccarat, roulette, live blackjack games. You play with the dealer right now on your phone on the Bet Parks Casino and Sportsbook app. Plus, you play hundreds of online slots games. Always adding new slot games. All the action and excitement of casino right at your fingertips. It's simple, safe, easy to use. Bet Parks is the only app that we here at Go Birds recommend. Here's the deal. Unbelievable offer for Bet Parks users, for new users, for our listeners. Bet Parks has an incredible offer for new users. Download the Bet Parks online casino sportsbook app right now and get up to $1,000 in casino bonus back if you're down the first 24 hours. Yes, $1,000 casino bonus back. New users only. Casino bonus must be wagered. See the website at betparks.com for the details. You love to play. You play to win. You bet. Bet Parks. You must be 21 in PA, New Jersey, or Michigan. Gambling problem. Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
So as I told you, there are mystery people that I will not reveal partaking in ordering windows from Window Nation, right? I told you about this. Like
no. Hold on. I'm standing up.
It's a standing ovation. I love it. Little standing ovation. We all know those work, so it'll be good.
Had to. Yeah.
So right. I was away last week, but the latest I have is I told you they called. I told them Go Birds sent you. As you know, they didn't have to, but I appreciate it.
I really appreciate it.
And I checked in before I left. I was like, oh, what happened with the windows? And they're like, oh, they're coming out in 2 days. Not surprising at all, right? So as you know, as we always say with Window Nation, like we are happy to put the Go Birds label on them. We are happy to give them the cosign, and we don't cosign much, to be honest. We have a high bar for the cosign.
That's exactly right.
So I'm going to check in today when I leave, done recording the pod to see what's going on. It wouldn't shock me if they have a whole new set of windows by now, honestly, because when it comes to Window Nation, as we've talked about hundreds of thousands of times now, it feels like on this pod, they just have the best installers. Their workers have worked like an average of like what was it, 20 plus years or something. They have like a 3% rate of where you have to come back. Like if they come to do your windows, they're going to do it right. They're going to do it quick, and they're going to give you a ton of different options.
And an insane deal too.
Well, that's the other thing. The other thing about it is, let's be honest. As much as we all need great windows and want great windows, the price point matters. Like it just does when you're making a selection on something, right?
Yeah.
And right now, for every 2 windows you buy, you'll get 2 windows free with Window Nation. And there's no limit to how many you could save. Plus, you could even get more with 0 down and no interest or payments for 24 months.
I mean, that's ridiculous.
Right. So you can make a selection of based off quality windows and not feel like, well, it's
0 down, 0 interest, 24 months. Like that doesn't like those. It just seems ridiculous.
Dude, you know how many Joel Embiid jerseys I would buy if I didn't do I would get both home and away without question. So Window Nation windows come with a lifetime warranty, and you can be installed in 1 day or less. That's pretty wild. They were even recently ranked highest on Forbes' list of best window installation companies. As we said before, if you're ranked on Forbes, you're doing something right. So you can trust Window Nation for high quality, affordable windows. Stop paying more than you have to. Schedule a fast in-home estimate right now at 866-90-NATION. That's 866-90-NATION, or visit windownation.com. And as everybody does, and as the mystery guest did, tell them Window Nation.
Can't wait to find out this mystery guest is. Yeah. It's very thrilling. All right. Anything else on Jalen, Nick, before we move on to some other stuff for camp?
No, I don't think so. I mean, again, like they'll talk on Wednesday. Nick definitely will. Presumably Jalen will. It'll be interesting to see what they say. Do they stoke the flame or do they put it out?
So. Well, we know Nick won't stoke the flame. Nick will try and put it out. The question is if Jalen will be on board.
Here's what I'll say, and this might be hypocritical. While I don't need to see them be all buddy-buddy, I do think like Nick probably needs to be a little aware of like how he interacts with Jalen in a negative way. Because like last year at camp, I remember he really was yelling at guys like, "You're making mistakes. Like you can't win games this way. We're sloppy." And ended up being somewhat correct. Mm-hmm. Like, I do think their interactions, while in a positive way, won't matter. If like there's a day where like Jalen's struggling and Nick like blows up at him,
but this is a problem, right?
No, I agree with you.
Like,
but
isn't Jalen the one who's like, I like to be coached hard, yell at me? Yeah,
but I'm just letting like maybe we won't have like this opinion.
If he doesn't feel like he has the whatever the relationship, whatever you want to say, to coach him hard, like that's a problem.
Agreed, but you also have to agree that if like Jalen throws an interception and Nick's in his face and Jalen's walking away, not talking, like, and that's reported, like, it's gonna blow up. So I do think, and we've had this discussion about like, how Nick has to like
bring Jalen in, yeah.
No, but like even just himself, like on the sideline, like
rein it in,
right? Yes. So how he handles it is going to be interesting.
No, that's a really fascinating point. Yeah. I hadn't thought about the fact that with you guys at training camp and stuff that they do have to kind of think about it right now in this moment, how they are perceived.
Yeah, because it's a massive deal.
Yeah, it was all people are going to talk. I mean,
well, especially
like it or not,
especially if Wednesday doesn't.
Yeah, like it or not, the number one story of training camp and the number one story of the season to start until they either win. It's what it is. It's just it's. Yep. I know there are a lot of people out there who don't like. I saw like. I think there's a lot of people with like kind of heads in the sands on this specific thing where it's like I've even seen people like, who cares if my quarterback and head coach get along?
It's silly.
It's crazy down. Like, what are you talking about? People are like, well, Brady and Belichick didn't like each other. Yeah, but you know what they did? They respected the hell out of each other.
And also, for what it's worth, they didn't like each other at the end.
But they did before. And exactly. They were close before. And also, Brady has talked glowingly about Belichick every opportunity he's gotten. And again, on a basic level, they respected each other. If Bill told him to do something, he took it to heart. He respected where it was coming from. Like, that's the issue here, is it feels like Jalen doesn't respect Nick.
Well, and the other thing is, when it comes to Belichick and relationships, it doesn't seem like it matters as much.
Yeah.
It matters to Nick. Yeah. Like if you're going to be a player for Nick, like it has to matter to you.
Yeah.
And then look, if maybe that's just not something people should care about, then maybe Nick shouldn't be the head coach. But like if Nick not getting along with his quarterback has to kill him every day he enters that complex. So I agree with you. It 100% matters. Yeah. And the work in progress thing was not a great way to. I mean, they've been together for 3 years. Like that is not like a.
What do you mean a work in progress?
I think at that point, like it's kind of.
It's like it is what it is. Like, yeah, exactly. It's ruined.
Yeah, or it was built and not built well.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like it needs rebuilt.
Like, well, and like we keep talking, I keep going back to the Super Bowl, and I keep going back to that moment when he pulled, Nick, when he calmed Nick down.
I don't make as much of that.
It's not that. It's that, like, I think in the moment it looked like they were, it was a funny little thing or whatever. But I do think that it's just a symbol of the way these two guys go about their business, the way they think. And the fact that I do think that Jalen, like I get the impression that Jalen doesn't like the way Nick goes about his business.
So I think that's probably true, but I also think and this comes with everything. We could talk about any team in the world. Like if you're winning, it
It
doesn't
doesn't matter.
matter.
I
Yeah, and
agree.
so, like,
Yeah.
the main core is the offense and, like, figuring out, like, and, this year we'll see. Like, if the offense isn't good this year, you can only point the fingers away from Jalen so many times. Like, at that point, he will have had Brian Johnson, Nick Sirianni. He was really good, obviously, under Shane Steichen. But if it doesn't work with Kellen Moore, like, Kellen Moore is the most qualified offensive coordinator in the league that's not a head coach. So, like, this is it. It's like put up or shut up time for Nick, for Jalen. Like, there could be major changes in this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There really could
Because they
be.
got all the talent.
All right. Let me throw some other things at you.
Okay.
You tweeted about James Bradbury.
I
Um,
did.
I, I think a lot of people are surprised he's coming to camp Wednesday, much less the fact that, like, you know, he's here. Like,
Yeah.
June 1st is past. It's over. We're past all this stuff. Like James Bradbury is coming to camp to play for the Eagles, theoretically.
So
Like, it's just crazy. Where are you at with the
I
Bradbury
wish
thing and how it's all played out?
I wish I wouldn't have gotten so wrapped up in the summer on the idea that he could go, because the impression I got at the end of the season was like,
You were
he's
very
staying.
strong on
Yeah.
this thing. You were like
Yeah.
a voice in the wilderness being
Yeah,
like,
and I wish I wouldn't have backed off of it. But, like, I would say with Bradbury, I'm at a point where I don't really care. Like, he's not gonna start. The only way he starts is if everyone else is so bad and he's so good, and even then, I think they're just holding on to him until they trade him. And I think he'll practice, because there's no point in not having him practice, because you could not trade him. And I'll be curious to see when he plays corner, like, if he's with the first team. So if I get out practice on Wednesday and Bradbury's a starting corner opposite Slay, then it'll be a little like, what are we doing here, guys?
Mhm.
But if he's running with the second team corners, third team corners, second team safety, like, that's fine. I think he's a good asset to have on the roster as your 50 or not 53rd, like your 47th guy. Like, because as much as, and we've talked about this a lot, like, I am super high on Keeley, really excited about Isaiah Rodgers. I like Eli Ricks. Quignon's looked impressive. Like, there are lots of reasons to be really excited about the secondary. We also have no idea really if any of them can
Yeah.
play in the NFL. Like, I think they can, and Isaiah Rodgers has somewhat of a track record. Keeley played well towards the end of the year. Like, you can piece it together, but none of them has played at the level Bradbury has. And while Bradbury was bad last year, it could, the whole thing was bad. So I think Bradbury makes sense if they're playing him at safety and they think he's like decent. They think he's like a decent backup for a team that's expected to compete for the Super Bowl. Having a James Bradbury is not a bad thing. So if he's out there practicing, he's not taking a ton of reps from people, and then you keep him on the roster, like, when we get down to cutdown day, we'll discuss who should maybe get a roster spot over him. But I don't think there's any harm in holding on to him where you trade him for a sixth that could maybe be like a fourth if he turns back into an all-pro guy or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, I wouldn't count on
And
that.
he
but
might
you're
not, but
yeah.
the point I'm making is if you
You're
cut him, you're
leaving
not
yourself
getting anything.
optionality.
Yeah.
It's like
It's a
you're getting
90-man
yeah.
roster right now. There's no harm in having Brad. He's not a bad guy. His teammates like him.
Mhm.
Like, I think it makes sense to have him at camp.
Yeah, I agree. I think the only
And
people
you've already paid him.
the
Like, you
fans are the ones
literally
that,
already
yeah,
paid
you're
him.
not gaining anything by not
Yeah.
having there. All right. With the idea that line play is hard at camp to really judge early
Yeah.
on and all that, who are you looking at? Like the Steen thing, Cam at center, and then on the defensive line, Bryce Huff, all this stuff. Like, how do you go into camp looking to judge that based on the fact you can't always get,
Yeah.
the best
So
looks?
I do think,
And what are you looking for?
yeah. So the joint practice against the Patriots will be a really good indication, because that's when the teams are trying their hardest. Like, you don't go against the same guy for 3 weeks and you see someone else. So the joint practice will be a really good look at the line. I think that while you can't always tell because they're not going 150%, especially in the offensive line, they're not going to, I would guess, not really tackle. They sometimes do tackle like thuds, but they don't really tackle to the ground. So just how much time does Jalen have in the pocket is what I'll be looking for. I do think you can get an indication, like, if Jalen's running for his life, then that's going to be a bad sign for like how the communication is and all that. I think along the offensive line, what I'm gonna be looking for is like, is Steen splitting snaps with anybody? That's obvious. But how long into camp can Steen hold on to it? I think if Steen is a bad first week and a half and Mekhi Becton's awesome with the second team and they're watching tape and they're like, this dude is a physical specimen. We put him with Stoutland. He looks awesome at guard. Like, I think they will. I will think they will take Steen out. So Steen, obviously, right guard is the biggest thing. Center, I think it's going to take a lot to pull Jerkins out of center. He'd have to be pretty bad not to play week
I
one, and I
agree.
think he will play. But one thing, and this will be really hard to judge in camp, but one thing I think they should really be working on is just like the communication up the middle is such a big thing. I think when we talked about the blitz pickup last year, we talked about it so much in terms of Jalen making decisions and offensive game planning for the blitz. A large part of the blitz is like the center, the quarterback communicating with each other and then communicating with the other five. Like, here's what we see, here's where we're going, here's what to expect, and recognizing it. I mean, I'll say the quote you say all the time. Tom Brady's seen everything because he's seen everything. Cam Jurgens, Tyler Steen, and Jalen Hurts have seen
not seen
zero
everything.
together.
Yeah.
Together on the field, zero. So for a team that you know is going to be blitzed, I think it'd be really beneficial for the Eagles defense just to like blitz them every single snap here. Like show them all types of looks, show them stunts, show them like, where you don't move it all pre-snap and then you move. Show it where you move all the time because Jurgens, Steen, or Becton and Jalen plus Dickerson on the other side need a lot of reps of just talking. Like the biggest thing I took away from the Players Lounge doing last year with my lot and Landon Dickerson is like they would go into games feeling like they have a game plan and then it would be completely different, which happens. Obviously, teams prepare and all that. And like it just felt like there were communication issues where like before the snap, like, they didn't hear this person or like whatever. So the communication on the line, like, has got to be priority number one to work on in camp.
Yeah, well, and the fact that it happened with Kelsey still here last year is extra concerning,
100%.
because we all know what a great player Jason Kelsey is, and we all know how smart he is
Yeah.
and what he can see and understand. So the fact that they're having these issues with him there, and now you're making the changeover, like it's a lot of work. Like they have a lot to do with this group this offseason. All right, what else? What else from training camp are you going in looking for? Like when you get out there with the notepad and the whole thing on Wednesday, like we know you're gonna be looking at Nick and Jalen. We talked about that. We know these. What are you looking at? Who are guys who you're keying in on? What are some? We've talked battles, but just in general, like what do you need to see? Who are you looking at?
So the first name that came to my mind was John Ross. So I'm pumped for John Ross. Like I think he could be a obvious change of scenery guy, get in a good organization, get with a good team. But when I was doing, I've been doing a position each day, like on Twitter, like looking at it, they are so thin at receiver. And I like Paris Campbell, and we did the pod where I was very impressed by what I saw from him. But man, like after AJ and Devontae, it is bad. Like it isn't just they could do better and it's hard to find great receivers. It is like Britton Covey could end up taking 80 snaps in a game if things didn't go well, right?
Yeah.
So the John Ross thing is interesting to me. If he's like impressive, I think he could end up winning that third receiver spot from Paris Campbell. The other thing is how they'll move guys around. Like I think we talk about the third receiver spot as strictly like a John Ross speed guy.
Whatever.
But like Devontae could be in the slot a ton. Sure. And then what you need on the outside or as your third guy is very different on the outside. So like if they were going to make a trade at a position, I think receiver again is it, because if they get to camp and John Ross doesn't look good, like you have to go trade for somebody. And I don't know how big of an asset you use. Like maybe it is a guy that becomes a legit number 3. Who was it? I saw a big name receiver is on like Brandon Ayuk. I don't think they'll trade.
Yeah, I doubt they would trade.
But it would be wild if they did. Like
Devontae in the slot, Ayuk like on the outside. Let's roll.
Hypothetical end of the pot. Like the Niners call you and go, all right, we'll trade you Ayuk, and they'll pay him, and don't worry about the money. How much would you trade for him?
Well, don't worry about the money. You have to worry.
Well,
I'm saying
like no, like how he's
the Eagles
how he is saying
him.
to you, how he's saying to you, yeah, we're gonna give him a contract he's happy with. It's gonna take space, but like I got it. Like we'll add dummy years,
like a second plus.
You give a second, okay.
Yeah,
he'd be sick here,
dude. It'd be.
I know we got into a little, and
I like it's almost like, can you really do this? Like, could you pay a third?
There's no way they'll do it. I'm just for fun talk. Like,
I mean, I would love it. I think it'd be unstoppable.
Yeah. And by the way, speaking of drama with teams,
hey,
the Niners are dealing with it.
Yeah, they are, and they're coming off a Super Bowl loss.
Yeah, the Niners, know what that is. As we said last year, just chalk them off. Yeah, not going to win it all. And we were right. We said they're not going to win the Super Bowl. We were absolutely correct.
We nailed it.
They did not win the Super Bowl.
No way they were.
Yeah, as we said, and they will not win it this year. So the third wide receiver spot I'm really looking at. I'm excited to. Actually, I should look at this. I'll be curious to see last year in camp how many catches Swift has. I could probably look it up quickly, but and what that is compared to Saquon.
Yeah,
because last year Swift got the ball quite a bit, and then they ended up having 88 targets combined, the running backs throughout the year, which is a higher number than I thought. So how often is Saquon getting the ball? Where is he getting the ball? Like, is it wheel rats down the field, or is like bubble, flat, these like screens, right? Like, are they running screens? So where's Saquon's getting the ball? And then we've talked about the corners to death, but like, who's on day one?
Just the most interesting. There's so many guys, and other than Slay, we don't know. Like it could be any two guys in this. I mean, it's going to be Avonte or Cooper, most likely in the slot. My point being that we don't know who's going to fill those positions,
right,
and how it's going to be.
I don't think they're going to trade Slay. I think the cap implications are pretty rough if they do. But if they make one big time shocking trade, like I think Slay would be the one. Just because if Quinion, Eli, Ricks, like not Eli too, but if Quinion, like Cooper, Keely, Isaiah, like if they all look awesome, like Maddox is healthy and it's cut down day,
I just don't think they will. I think Slay, especially with Slay, a leader on the defense,
for sure.
But
he would be, and I wouldn't I think he's going to be awesome this year. I do. Like, I'm in on
Wow.
sleigh. I know,
Okay.
the sleigh is not the most popular
He's
guy
just old.
sometimes.
I'm just worried about the
I know,
age
for
catching
sure,
up with him.
for sure.
But yeah,
But
he's a
I
good
feel
football
good
player.
about sleigh going in. So, yeah, the corners would be the other one.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. All
Yeah.
right, any other final thought, or I guess thoughts
Nah, I'm
before
just
we?
excited to get
All right, let's do it. Final thoughts.
out. Okay.
We will have all kinds of programming for you this week. We'll be back later in the week at the Parks Picks Pod. We're gonna have some post pod practice pods.
Of course,
We're
every practice.
working on it.
Potentially,
Some
some
fun stuff.
exciting. Yeah.
Maybe some exciting special guests
Yeah. Could be
involved.
fun.
Yes. So
Yes.
it could be really cool. Very excited about it.
All right. So first, let me talk about Maine for 1 minute. And I'll give you my
Yeah,
thought.
please.
So have you been to Maine?
So I have not been to Maine in a long time. I went to camp in Maine when I was younger. I went to Camp Winnebago back
Right.
in the day.
And I mean, that was a long time.
I was like a child.
Yeah,
Like, I'm talking when
right.
I was like 9 and 10 years
Yeah.
old. I feel like I was in Maine one other time for like a moment, but I don't remember what it
Yeah.
was. But I've not been in a long time.
Maine is
Beautiful.
awesome.
Beautiful
Like,
place.
so I feel like I'm pretty well traveled. Like, I've been overseas. Like, it is the most consistently scenically beautiful place. Like, it is. I was blown away. And I'm not a big nature guy. Like, I'm not like super like, let's go on a hike. Like, I'm much more like, let's get an expensive dinner. But it was unbelievable. Like, I was blown away by Maine. To anyone that's considered going, like, I could not recommend it more. Like, all the little towns, all the harbors, the lobster rolls. Like, I'm very, very happy I went, and I would highly recommend it to
Look
people.
at you.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, all right. So here's my final thought based off of that.
Okay.
So we went to like a, garden thing. We walked around and they had butterflies. And the woman there, like the head butterfly master, was saying that there were these specific flowers where the butterflies lay eggs. So James, I ask you, would you call it a butterfly egg or a caterpillar egg?
That's a great question.
Because
I guess they are
butterfly
butterfly
didn't
eggs,
come out
but
of
it
that
is a
egg.
caterpillar.
But
Yeah.
a butterfly is the one, like,
It's a really good question, Elliot.
I think it's a caterpillar.
I think it probably is too.
So I didn't want to correct her because, she is the butterfly.
I mean, she might be technically correct. I don't know.
But if a caterpillar comes out of it, I don't see how it's anything other than that.
Good take. Yeah.
Is there another egg?
But the butterfly laid the egg. So technically, you could say butterfly eggs. Like, they are the ones that laid them. They came from the butterfly. So they are technically butterfly laid eggs.
But if a human gave birth to an alien, would you say like?
But you could say the egg was human. What came out of the egg wasn't. But you could say
Right.
the egg was. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying, like, it could be a semantics thing where,
I guess like if you have a chicken egg, but like you open it and something else is in there, like the chicken still laid it.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it comes down to like what's more important, who laid the egg or
what's
comes out
in
of
the egg. Yeah. It's like a chicken or the egg.
And at the end of the day, I will say this too. Like, now they're really small, so you're not going to buy them. But like, maybe you do actually. Like, if I was sold an egg and was told it was like a bear egg and a lion came out of it, I'd be like, well, that's not really a bear egg. Like, so I feel like I think it's a caterpillar egg.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah.
I guess so.
Yeah. Tucker, where are you at with this?
Oh, it has to be caterpillar.
I think it's a caterpillar egg. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, I would probably lean caterpillar, but like I get, butterfly lays an egg. Oh, it's a butterfly egg because they laid it,
Also, one more other little butterfly.
Yeah, sure.
Did you know they go all the way from Maine to Mexico?
Well, yeah, some do. I don't think
not
all.
all of them.
Yeah.
But like, I almost want to talk to these butterflies and go.
Like, that's way too much
there
effort.
are warm places
Yeah.
before Mexico. Like, that's a lot of extra flying.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Apparently they have a GPS now that's small enough. They're gonna put it on a butterfly's back.
Really?
They can track it.
Wow.
I would love to see the path, like how long they fly. Like how many stops do you think a butterfly takes between?
I mean, they'd have to take a ton, I would think.
Because I don't think they fly for long stretches.
they,
Like,
like,
when I
stop
watch
on
butterflies,
things.
they fly for like 15 seconds. That's a.
What about like
Dude,
rain? You can't like. What about if a butterfly dies in the rain? Right? They can't wait their wings.
I feel like by the time they get down to
I'm
Mexico,
sure they hide.
it's almost time to turn around.
Well, that too. I mean, do you
Yeah.
ever get back? Do they just go there and die? Like, how long do butterflies live?
It's a great question for the butterfly.
I know. Only we had a.
I should have asked.
You should have.
It blew me away.
You were too busy.
I was too busy in my head.
You
thinking,
idiot.
Thinking like
clearly
it's not
a caterpillar.
It's a caterpillar egg. It's funny because like Steve Mose is probably like 7-year-olds there. It's like me standing there as an
being
adult.
like,
I'm
well,
actually, if
actually.
you think about it, it's really a caterpillar. She's like, shut up. Like, yeah,
Love
Maine
it.
was dope.
It's great. I'm happy you had a good time.
Yeah.
I did nothing.
I know that's what
Yeah.
you like to do.
Yeah. Oh, it was great. I needed it. I mean, we went to an indoor water park with Zoe.
Okay.
So that was fun for a couple days.
You go in the water on those? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I will,
Yeah.
but I
Go down the slide.
yeah, I went down a couple slides.
All right.
Yeah,
see
with Zoe, and then
It is funny to picture someone there that like might recognize you but doesn't want to say hi.
Be like, I know,
yeah. Going down the tube, yeah.
Yeah. So it was good. It was good. All right, my final thought though. I did go to the movies, and I know you'll like this because
Nice.
it is
Can't wait.
taking a shot at movie theaters.
Yeah.
Not in the way that you do.
Yeah. Well, movie theaters are cooked.
The best. Saw Long Legs. It was fine. It was good.
I don't even know
Wasn't
what
as
that
great as I expected. I got to see Twisters. My guy Glenn. Very excited.
So I saw a commercial for Twister.
It's a huge hit. Everyone says it's
like
awesome.
It's good.
And it's freaking Glenn.
Your
my
guy.
Since
Your
2015. Glenn Powell.
Yeah.
I've got one.
What you say.
I love it. Dude, don't you dare.
Oh, wait. Sorry.
Yeah.
I have a quick mute. Do you see the new Beetlejuice preview?
Yeah, I think it looks good, the new Beetlejuice.
Dude, I think it looks awesome.
Yeah.
Also, I think
I love Jenna Ortega.
I think the name is like Beetlejuice. I think it's such a perfect name. Like not Beetlejuice 2, Beetlejuice Returns.
Very clever.
I think now if they make a third, you can do Beetlejuice.
Yeah,
like I think it's really good.
I'm really happy for you that you're happy about this. Yeah. I'm excited. It looks good though.
Yeah.
Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
We got to be able to do something in movie theaters about exit signs. Like a movie theater is supposed to be dark. Like you go in there to watch a movie, it gets completely dark, except for and I understand exit signs are important and all that, but
I would say so.
Couldn't we find a way to put it just slightly out of view, or put the exit sign in another spot where it's not when you're looking at the screen, you got the screen and darkness, nothing else, but a green exit sign just sitting on the side of the screen that's in your view the entire time. Like, can we do something?
So I think you know deep down why. Like the reason is everyone's looking at the screen, and so if there's an emergency, you're not being like, "Where is it?" Like,
that's fine. We're not idiots. Like everyone should know that.
Well, that's not true. I mean, you know, like there could be kids.
I am sure there is some rule about having an exit sign visible to people. It doesn't have to be right when you're looking at the freaking screen, so it's right there. Like,
all right. So I'm very open to innovating things, as you know. A lot of final thoughts. Like
movie screen should be dark. It should
be
dark in a movie theater.
I'm just gonna have to disagree with you.
Oh no!
I mean,
no, you don't even like the movie theater.
I know, but get over it. It's one little sign.
No, I won't get over it. It just drives you
save
crazy.
People's lives.
It drives you crazy.
Now, here's the only solution I could think of is if you had someone standing up top where the projector is the entire movie, and if something goes wrong, they turn on a huge exit sign where it's it is right here, and then outside of that, but that requires a lot of human error too. Someone could be playing on their phone, and all of a sudden they look down, and James has a little less light, but everyone's running around. You
know what? I'm willing to die in a movie theater.
All right. Well, look for that take. I respect dying.
Yeah, I will say. Yeah, I'm willing to die in there if the random situation comes up where I need the exit and I can't find it, and I die because of it. That's okay because I got a bunch of movies with dark.
I respect it.
Thank you.
Yeah. But I can just picture you sitting in the movie theater and everyone's having a good time. Enjoy probably this little sign.
It drives you crazy.
Yeah.
I can't.
It's not even that bright. I mean, I'm not in movies.
It's
often.
green. It's right in your face.
Well, what about if it was I don't know, darker red? But the point is, it's supposed to be bright. It's supposed to.
I know it is. Trust me. I know.
Yeah. Not but also the exit is there. Yeah. I just don't think there's anything we can do about it.
I know.
I've thought about it more. And I don't think it can happen. Yeah.
Very depressing. No.
Yeah. Well, it's all right. I think you'll still go to the movie.
I will.
Nothing really.
I can't wait to go see Twisters. I gotta go support my guy Glenn.
I know you do.
I feel like I should get some sort of not an award or something, but something like that.
For being early on.
Glenn was first on Glenn.
But here's the only issue: is I never heard you say his name.
That's just because you don't pay attention.
Well, all right.
Ask Jack. Jack knows I've loved.
I will ask Jack.
Ask my wife.
Yeah.
Now
that you selfishly have gotten your phone fixed, at least we can.
Yes. Well, I didn't. It just started working again. I didn't even get to take it in.
It's a good thing in life. Yes. Normally, if you just ignore a problem long enough, it generally.
Yes, I actually even saved this tweet that someone sent because I was like, "That's me."
A lot of you weren't here, but I was.
It's a picture of Glenn with the Scream Queen show, which they might reboot apparently.
I actually heard someone bring that up.
Yes, I watched it in 2015. It's the first time Glenn did anything. I was there for it. I mean, you might have done stuff before, but I was there in 2015, and I was there like this girl. So me and Kelsey Weekman.
Look, you called.
You weren't there, but I was. Thank you.
Yeah, but I think Glenn Powell is having his moment.
Yeah,
so it's pretty convenient that
great.
now you're a big Glenn Powell guy. I don't. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
In the video, see this?
Yeah, we're on video.
I'm giving him. I'm flipping him the bird right now.
Censor it, yeah.
A lot of ad revenue there.
Yeah. All right. You got anything else?
No, I think that's it.
No, good.
Fun for Wednesday.
Good. Yeah, I am too. I'm excited, and we'll have pods. We'll have all kinds of stuff.
Go Birds Radio will be back.
Go Birds Radio on Saturday. We're back at Parks, so we're back, dude. Go time.
Do it.
Let's roll.
Wait.
All right. Until then. He's on.